Alright guys, and we are in my storage unit, and there's my bike, completely under a tarp right now. But I have all the plastics off. I got the seat, everything off like that. I have all the under fairings. Every fairing I'm gonna paint is in that box with its screws, hopefully still on top of the plastics. And I have my stock exhaust system. Now this was a pain in the butt to get off, because I had to remove so much just to get this off, but it's gonna be all worth it when I get my new piece. But pain in the ass, I fucking hate you. Now, all that aside, I will show you guys the bike and the state it's in, how to take off the tank, and the process of me taking off the tank. And then of course that piece of plastic that I painted that I talked about in the previous video that I'm going to edit together. Hopefully that looks out really good. But I am going to set this up so that way you guys can see me and the bike, so I don't have to constantly be holding the phone. So I'll do the best I can. Let's actually turn it sideways here. Maybe we can get a better view. Let's see, let's do this. Okay, so I'm just gonna move some stuff really quick so I can show you guys the details. Take off the bottom part here. These are really nice too. These what is it called? I think it's called Adventureland. Oh, these Neverland bike covers are bomb. I love these things, and they're not that expensive too. I definitely check them out. That will help. You can check them out. So here we go. Kind of get more into. So this is my s1000rr, and as you guys can tell, it is completely stripped. I got the bottom pipe off, as you can see, and the radiator is still loose, the bracket's off. Took all the plastic to repaint off, and the CPU itself is even out. I'm actually planning, I was originally actually going to flash the CPU, but I'm getting a power commander now, so it's not actually happening. But I'm going to leave it out for now in case I change my mind. But today we're taking out that bad boy. Now, everything should be disconnected. All the plastics that need to be taken off should be taken off. I believe it's just a couple bolts, and then there's this hose in the bottom I gotta disconnect carefully so I don't spill gas everywhere, because I cannot get any gas on this. In case I do, for some reason, I do have a tarp and some other stuff kind of to help us out with that. But now I'm going to show you guys what I extensively had to go through in order to get the stock off. And I would have recorded it because it's actually a pretty good video to teach people, but there's already thousands of videos about how to do it. It's not actually that hard either. I'll kind of just do a basic rundown here. So underneath here you got, let's see right here, you got these bolts. Okay, there's two of them, one right there, one right here. Those hold this, right, the mounts right here. So you got those two mounts in the back, that's it. And you got the back valve wire, which it's gonna be like around here, and it's actually gonna run up in behind this, and it will end up back there. Now, if you can see it, not very well, but you'll see there's a little dial back there, kind of right in front of my finger. It hooks to that, and that's what spins it and opens the valve. The only thing I had to do was simply disconnect the wire and pull it out, because you don't want to mess with that part. You don't want to turn the wheel or anything. You just want to disconnect it. So that way, if the computer decides to turn it on, like as a startup procedure or whatever, it will still be turning it. So the bike will still think it's there, but it's not going to be there because we're going to put a new pipe on. But we keep that part on just so that the computer thinks it's there, I think. From what I understand, no one told me I took it off, so I'm just going to assume that's what it is. That's my own personal diagnosis. And I think that'll also help no computer error code show up. The power commander might also help with that too whenever I get that installed. But anyways, so that's also where these end slip-on stock mounts to. I took that off for a while, and then I took the bottom off. The new one, aftermarket or the stock, should fit back on. I'm hoping the stock one mounts back up with the new afterpublic pipe, the bottom, because I don't necessarily want to buy slip-on just yet, but if it doesn't, I might have to. Very expensive, but we will go about that when we get there. But for now, nothing's going to be on it. I'm going to be replacing all the hoses, right? And getting new covers and cases for all that stuff. Getting, you know, just blue accent covers, blue oil cap. Really just, you know, kind of add some blue into all this thing to match my new paint job. Now, I also took off the rear tail light because the stock tail light actually comes with blinkers, right? Well, like not in it, but on the sides. Then someone did an aftermarket job on this, did a horrible job. It was messy, it was disgusting. So I actually took all that off, and I took the old light off, which the old light is actually right here. And it's really easy. It actually just, you kind of just unplug the back right there. And there's a serial number too if you want to replace this. I am selling some of these parts because they're in still good condition. They just need to be cleaned up. But I took that off because I'm going to get an integrated tail light with turn signals in it to replace this, because this one is okay, but I don't want to have to install new rear tail lights, and honestly it looks better when it's inside this. So that's what we're doing with that. As far as mirror go, I got a couple different options. I got my stock ones, which I don't know if you can tell, but you see this thing actually broke off, and it's not the bolt that's broken, it's just the thing. So I could possibly JV weld that back on, but that's an option. I do have bar end mirrors, however these aren't exactly the best bar end mirrors. They're really loose and finicky, and I think I actually stripped out the inside of my bar tubes, so I don't even know if I can put those back in anymore. So mirrors is kind of a big question mark. I'm still thinking about that. We're getting a new battery as we speak. These are exhaust rings. I think they go right under the mounts right here. These for some reason just fell off. I think there was actually two of them and one for some reason, I don't know why. And then this is my basic stock, I don't know if you call it a slip-on, but it's just a basic stock one. And then it obviously comes with a little guard right here that has the clamp that holds the pipes together, and obviously this itself also holds the pipe together. So there's that. Getting a new battery, so that's the old battery I have right there, kind of just covered up so dust doesn't mess with it. So anyways, you have the rear cord, right? They have these two sensors, which are really easy. I shoved them back here because I'm not using them anymore, but they're old sensors, right? Are basically, you unplug them, one's right here, one's same area on the other side of the bike. You just unplug them and pull them down. There's some clips that's gonna be holding it onto the motor, but then once you disconnect those, it just falls down with the pipe. And then the last thing you have to do is unmount obviously the mounts to the head of the motor and take off the last valve. So there's another valve right at the top, and same scenario as the rear one. You're just going to take it off, but this one's actually really easy, because if you go to the other side of the bike here, you'll see that it's actually right here. When you take the plastic off, it's right here, and you can just unhook it off and then just follow it down and you're good to go. Now I also took the bracket off that holds these together, so the radiator is now essentially loose. We're going to want that loose because we're replacing all these hoses with some new blue ones, so it's going to look nice. Now, as far as my chain goes, I'm actually going to be changing my sprocket in here, my rear sprocket, and then my chain, because they're all really dirty and they're hard to clean, and the person who owned it before me didn't take good care of them. I didn't take good care of them because I thought they were clean. They weren't, and some of it has a little bit of wear, so I want to just take it off and just redo the whole thing, make it really nice. I'm also thinking about getting some new chain tensioners, even though they're really expensive. Thinking about getting some of those to kind of add some accent blue back there also. The entire subframe has been stripped clean. You'll see all my tools are right there, kind of holding everything. But that's basically it. So you got to take all that off, and you don't have to take the radiator clamp off, but it's recommended. It kind of mounts right here, and then it mounts, I don't know if you can see right there, but then there is the holes, you guys can see it. Those are the exhaust ports that mount to it, and I usually kind of just put the screws back on so you don't lose them. Think about these screws, they're 12 point, not, I think it's the other options like what, 6 point or whatever. They're very finicky and they're really expensive, so do not strip these out. Make sure you get the right ratchet. I think it's a 10 millimeter, but make sure that it's the 12 point so you don't strip these out. They're really expensive and they're really easy to lose, so don't lose them. And then that's pretty much it. And then, so there's your oil filter right there, which is kind of a pain in the butt because it's literally right behind the freaking exhaust. I think that's stupid, but it's right there. You can take it off. And then I think you drain oil from right here. The oil part, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure this is the oil pan. So I think that's where you drain oil. But I'll have to do more research on that because I'm not 100% sure. As far as cooler goes, you drain on the other side, right actually where the cap is. But everything else kind of, is give you left alone. Obviously there are certain things that I could accent and do, but I'm not going to be messing with too much stuff because overall I don't want to mess with the overall integrity of the bike. I just want to mess with the computer, the plastics, the exhaust system, the coolant lines, and the chain and sprocket. Those are like the major things, and then like some electrical stuff in the back, and that's it. Everything else I'm pretty much leaving alone. The brake pads should be good, but I am thinking about getting new ones just to have, because I mean overall it's just smart to have just good brake pads overall. I am also putting a radiator guard in this and hopefully maybe cleaning up the radiator a little bit because it's really dirty and all that stuff. My shocks are good. I mean, there's a little leakage right here, but nothing like crazy. Make sure I'll clean those up, make sure those aren't leaking, because if those are leaking, I replace those too. Air filter is taken out. The electrical plugs that plug into the computer have been sealed up nice and tight with electrical tape, so nothing, no dust or anything gets in there. And yeah, so done a lot of the bike work with the bike already, but the last piece I'm going to remove is the gas tank. Now, step one, finding all the mounts. So there's one here, here, and here, one over here, and you got two vacuum hoses you got to unplug from the front. Okay, just like that. Boop. And I think that's everything. There shouldn't be anything else connecting to this. If there is, we'll get back to it. So now I'm going to loosen these bolts, and what I'm going to use to loosen them with, usually it's an Allen wrench. Particularly, I think it's a certain size here. Let's see. I think it's this one. Nope, too big. I might actually have this size. Is it a T20? It's not a T20. It's a little bigger than a T20. So this is actually weird because this is actually a size I have not used yet. I think it's this one. Nope. Okay, it's this one. See, it's kind of a learning experience for everybody here. Okay, it's this one. So this is it's the T, I think it's like 30 or something. Oh yeah, T30. So it's the T30 to get the side mounts off for the tank for the 2014. I don't know if that changes every year. We're gonna do that. And we also got this guy. Now this guy looks like you just unscrew it from one side, really. Just make sure that you catch anything that falls off. That looks like a particular socket, but I have a really nice socket set, so we'll be able to get that off. So right now let's just focus on these. So kind of just take it nice and simple here. Just remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty usually applies to everything, even foreign bikes. I'm just gonna get it nice and loose to the point where I can unscrew with my hand, and then once we get to that point, then we'll do the other side. Okay. Next, do this side. Now, this is actually a lot more intensive work that I planned on doing to this bike originally, but I want to make sure that this bike it's in good condition, you know. Like, I want to make sure that everything looks good. I want to really detail clean it. So one of the things I'm going to be doing until I order all these parts is, now that I got all my after the tank, that is, everything's off, I'm going to be spending a lot of time just cleaning the bike, really just, you know, making sure that the bike is, you know, it's in good condition, and that, you know, there's no like dirt clogging, like leak that I need to be wary of. there's a lot of black smudge, like gunk at the bottom, and I'm worried there might be some kind of oil leak, maybe some kind of gasket, maybe something's loose. So I gotta go over the whole thing and really make sure everything's nice and tight, snug. I might even have to buy a torque wrench, which in itself will be its own journey, but we are not quite just yet. So before we go any further, we need to get my socket set out. If it will open. I love housekeeping. They have a very strange way of doing things. So we're going to find out which socket fits that. I think it's a 12? Is it 12? Am I right? Am I right? Oh, way off. We're probably looking at a actually like maybe like a 10. It might actually be a 10 millimeter. Well, is this 10 millimeter? I don't know. It is 10. Just a socket. So the nice thing about this bike I've noticed so far, pretty much everything is, you know, a 10 millimeter, which, I mean, I think that's pretty standard for most bikes, even my dirt bike, but even so. So now we got on a ratchet. Now we're gonna take it off. Now we want to be really careful with this. I might even put my phone in a position where I can record and not drop it. So yeah, okay. So I'm gonna be really careful here. Kind of